everyone, and welcome back to Episode Club. Today we're going to be talking Stranger Things 3, Chapter 4, The Sauna Test. And joining me today is AK. How are you doing?
What is good, Mackenzie? I'm doing all right. What's up, YouTubes? We're sitting here. I'm reporting live from Fire and Brimstone, one of the newest places in the Upside Down. Therefore, as you can see, it has not fully turned upside down yet. It is still being drained of its energy. Let's get into it.
Exactly. New York City. The place so nice, they named it twice.
New York,
Um,
New York.
exactly. So we got a few people joining us today in the chat. We have Otila Angel, and no problem. Life happens, so I don't judge. With missing a few, don't worry, it's fine. Peter Griffin and Johnny B Crazy are in the chat. I know a few people may pop in as as this kind of gets sent out to people. So yeah, we're talking about the Sonnet test today. Um, it's interesting that how they name these episodes. uh, um, they're not as strange as how other TV shows, cough cough, Game of Thrones, had named some of their episodes. But this one, I know you binge watched this entire season on your own channel, AK. But what did you
hmm
think when the name The Sonnet Test kind of came out?
I honestly didn't know what exactly to think. Even with like the promos and previews that they put out, the trailers, they gave us a lot, but they very skillfully didn't give us the whole story by far. And the episode names are always pretty on point with this show, and for this one, I went in blind. I said sauna, okay, let's see where they take that. And when we see where they got it from, it again was on point. So I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Yeah, it's an interesting name, and I think it well fits the episode. So, we begin kind of this episode with Elle and Max kind of continuing their friendship, and they're talking about Billy and Heather, and basically Max just thinks that they're just acting weird because, hey, why are like it's not something that they should be worried about. Yet we get flashes to Driscoll along with Nancy and Jonathan, and Driscoll's basically not seizuring, but she's like freaking the heck out. Uh,
hmm
and yeah, so we get kind of the contrast of what's going on. So, what do you what did you think about
Yeah,
like all this going on?
for the poor old lady, the thing could have been put together. The puzzle pieces did not have to be so far widespread. If in an earlier episode Nancy would have waited just 5 more seconds to pull Jonathan out the room, they could have seen what happened. And I think they would have maybe been more aware of how they needed to handle Mrs. Driscoll once they saw she was infected or whatever the hell they would call what's going on with those folks. Um, it was sad to see her go, but she's sitting there screaming she has to go back and whatnot, and they're completely ignoring that. And I get it, you want to take her to the hospital and see what's wrong, but you should be paying attention to the nonsense that she's spewing because obviously something was wrong, but no one was really getting it. And I was a little sad and to see how she ended.
Yeah, and how they kind of well, this comes a bit later with Nancy and Jonathan, but how they kind of brush off how she was acting, um, kind of just makes you go, "What?" Uh,
Yeah.
and hello, fake Aria or Bravosi broadcast.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, they got yeah. I don't know. It just seems very strange, and then especially that connection that we get with the steel mill and her like reaching out for it.
Right.
I
No one
yeah,
paid attention.
yeah exactly. Um, And it almost seems like that there should have been something, like, maybe to add more to that mystical event, like somehow the car, like, veered off the road, or something like that, to make it more,
Mm-hmm.
like, add to that element, but obviously that didn't happen. Um,
Or if they could have done it like there's a scene in the cartoon movie Monster House
mm-hmm.
where they're trying to take the old man that lives in the house, and the house is possessed by the spirit of his dead ex-wife. And to stop the ambulance from taking him away, she like has roots grow up in the grass to hold the cart still that they're carrying him on. And I feel like they could have done something like that. And then that really might have clued folks in that something was going on. But then again, these sheriff deputies don't know how to pay attention and deduce things, excuse me, at all. They find it later in the episode where Joyce helps Hopper solve all the puzzles, and he's like, "Yeah, you should forget about sales. Why don't you just come work with me at the sheriff's office? Because clearly she's the most capable person in this town at solving shit."
Yeah, yeah, because you gotta have, like, a, well, because the only one with a brain, essentially, as Nancy would say, is Hopper, and then that's hired in the department, maybe besides the the one who works at the front desk, or
Mm-hmm.
um, the so yeah, that makes sense, because the rest of them they're young deputies, and they're like, I don't know, like, can you explain to me what this is? And they're like,
Right. Like if y'all aren't the most like Gomer Pyle type law enforcement, it doesn't make any sense. Like it's a wonder anything gets done because Hopper's basically working by himself.
yeah. And we can kind of talk a bit about this because it kind of carries through the episode. So they get, so Driscoll's at the hospital, and then Nancy and Jonathan kind of get their repercussions for this because, that's what they have to do.
Mm-hmm.
And basically, they get called into the office, and then they get fired by Tom, which at this point, um, we realize that he's been infected, so to
Mm-hmm.
speak, with whatever Billy and Heather have been infected with. So, did you think that something might have happened at the office to not trick them, or to lead them down the wrong path, or was that?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So,
Absolutely. You could tell from the way the guy was acting. Well, I guess Jonathan couldn't initially because he didn't have like those glasses on to see through the bullshit. But Nancy caught on to it. Where my issue with Nancy in this part is though she doesn't see the world through any other lens than her own. And that's a problem. I think, later on, Jonathan will see it too. But at that point, he basically has to tell her that I needed that job, even though it was an internship, because I need it to be on my resume when I try to move forward in my field of study. And Nancy doesn't quite get that right away. And she actually even says it. She doesn't know what it is to actually have a severe want or need that isn't met. And while she does admit that, she still is a bit jaded to it because, and Jonathan has to tell her straight up, I don't live in your neighborhood. I don't have the opportunities that you do. I needed that job to, get from point A to point B. That was my median to help me along the way. And now what is he going to do? So I understand how Nancy feels. She definitely is justified in it, but Jonathan is as well. And I think Nancy completely took that for granted until later on. She does correct it in her head.
yeah, like, it's that conversation that they have with Tom, and Tom explaining that Mrs. Driscoll is insane and that you shouldn't believe the imaginings of a mad woman and all this stuff. They didn't know that, obviously. but yet the townspeople knew that, like Tom
Right,
and those people.
and Tom knew that. So even
Yeah.
before he was possessed, he could have, straight out said, "Okay, I'm taking you off of this. You don't need to follow the lead. Here's why." Not to be the ridiculous, chauvinistic jerk that him and all the other guys in the office are, but because it's not going to lead you anywhere that you think it is. This woman is crazy. It's documented. But he didn't feel the need to do that, which was bad boss moves on his part, and not in a good way. That was just horrible. If you would have told her that the woman was crazy, then she might have chosen a different course. That being said, though, again, Nancy pushes too hard in that direction without allowing herself to see the whole picture.
Yeah. And it's that whole sequence just makes you think it's like, or was this the with Tom saying the imaginings of an old crazy old lady because of actual facts based evidence, or because he was possessed and to not to kind of push them off that trail. It makes me kind of wonder about it a bit more. Yeah, and
I
then they
think
go.
she.
Yeah,
Sorry, go ahead.
and then obviously they get fired, and then they have effectively their first like relationship fight, essentially. Which we've never seen them fight on screen. Um, but yeah, it's just like maybe we should just break up for a while. Um, but these.
Nancy. She uses that line where she says, well, I guess I we're not on the same page anymore. And I think she knows that, or she at least felt at that point that she did go too far with that statement. And like you can tell on her face when Jonathan agreed with her, that's not what she wanted by far. She wasn't trying to actually break up. She thought she would get a different outcome, I think. And she was in her feelings, and I get that. She did have a right to be because those guys were jerks. But again, she needed to see Jonathan's side of it and how she went about it. It was her tact that was the issue, not necessarily what she did. It's how she went about doing it.
Yeah.
Hey, Dark Mother, shout out.
And you're not late. We're just talking about kind of the beginnings ish of the episode. And yeah, it's because they also do come from different worlds, essentially, that it's what made their relationship kind of interesting to begin with.
Right.
Because like her and Steve were on similar paths in terms of their relationship and where they come from. But with her and Jonathan, it was always that interesting dichotomy of how that relationship works, whether it's because of both their moms, which Karen does give a pretty strong conversation later with Nancy.
We can if you want to get Jonathan and Nancy out the way, we can just go ahead and continue with them.
Yeah, and yeah, so she comes home and her mom's wondering why she's home early, and she's like, no reason, and then she runs to her room, and you see Karen playing with the bobby pins against the doorknob again, but almost, but she obviously doesn't do that, and then she has a heart-to-heart with Nancy in the kitchen, and she makes some very strong and valid points. It almost makes me feel like Karen might have been like what Nancy was trying to be like, but obviously born in the wrong time to kind of act out that way.
Absolutely. I totally agree. And this is why, like, throughout all the discussions that, we've had on Episode Club previously about, parents in this town, Karen, I've always advocated for Karen. She may seem aloof or that she's not, paying attention or doesn't care as much. That's the absolute opposite of what she is. I honestly, and after this episode, honestly, I put her on the same level as I would Joyce and Hopper, because when anything is wrong with her kids, she senses it. and she will go and ask questions, but she won't push. She knows that, they're growing teenagers. They do need their space. Things are going to happen where they're not going to feel comfortable talking to a parent, but she does always let them know that she's there. And in the end, Karen always comes through. They always end up eventually going to her, and either she's a shoulder to cry on, which they absolutely need, or she allows them to vent and then gives them honest, real talk about what the situation is. And this conversation with her and Nancy is one of my favorite moments throughout the whole series, I think, because it just automatically, it proves who Karen really is. Like, we know that she's basically still in that marriage just because she's devoted to her children and making sure they have a good family unit. It's sad, but that's a fate that a lot of women go into, and she handles it very, very well. Even when she had thoughts of straying, she completely turned away from that because she knew that eventually would not do any good for her family, and she is all about family. Probably one of the only times I will quote House Tully in a good light. Family, duty, honor. Karen is a fucking Tully. Yeah. So, I like Blackfish, and I think Karen is a stand-up Tully as well. She basically, came out with it. She says, Nancy, you're a fighter. I know what the position you're in exactly. I know what it means to what you feel like when someone tells you you can't do something just because of your gender. Mm-hmm. But you rise above that. And at that moment, I don't think until that moment, Nancy realized how badass of a mom she actually has in all of the actions that she does where her kids are concerned, especially with Nancy, because Nancy's the oldest, and there's a lot of responsibility that's always put on firstborn kids. Yeah. So it's really good to see her and see Nancy and Karen bonding the way they did. And Nancy knows that she gets her fighter spirit, her strength from her mother. She absolutely sees it. Nancy, you could say she was kind of aloof in the very beginning too, but she actually was just playing the part. So she really is like her mom, and I can't think of a better person for her to be like. I love that scene between them. I'm really glad it happened. And from there, Nancy starts correcting her thinking and seeing things better through Jonathan's lens on life also. So that was a very good growth moment for both of those characters, and I loved it.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you get the mother-daughter relationship, which isn't really, or hasn't to this point really been exemplified too much. Mm-hmm. Especially because Nancy is going to, at some point, I think it's next year, she'll be going off, presumably to college. Because I believe she's still in high school. Yeah, she should be still in high school.
Yeah, her and Jonathan are seniors, I believe.
Yeah. So it's that idea that she's going to be faced not only with leaving Hawkins, but also experiencing what some people want to say, the big bad world.
Mm-hmm.
And especially
the real world.
Yeah. And when her mom is like, imagine you writing out this amazing report and then selling it to the Indian, like the, like a state paper, I guess, or the city paper, like the big city paper, and what that would mean, and all of these men just sitting there and reading something about the paper, in the paper, that someone that they fired over for no, effectively believing in a nonsense story, get to like rub it in their face essentially. And it's true, because a lot of people, mostly women, deal with this aspect of their not feeling, especially at this time, and probably not so much maybe now, but obviously in the 80s, dealing with the discrepancy because of what, who you were and who, the gender that you were born with. So it's like that talk still resonates with people who watch this obviously now.
Right, yeah. And I actually just put in the chat, when Nancy and Jonathan were arguing, like, one thing she does say near the end is, I didn't know I lived in a bubble. And again, kudos to her, because Nancy does know how to take a look at herself and step back and reevaluate. And if there's a course correction that needs to happen, she makes it. So that's one of the things I really adore about her character.
Yeah, there's so, yeah, everybody in the chat's like kind of saying where they are in terms of in the family unit. Otila says she was the oldest of 6, and she felt like she had the most responsibilities growing up.
Always, yeah. I am the firstborn kid of my mom and my dad. So I have many siblings, but on each side I'm firstborn, and yeah, it's a chore, and especially when you're growing up, it's nerve-wracking and ridiculous. But that's one of the reasons I always say, firstborn kids don't have it easy at all, unless they happen to be the only child. Then
Which
maybe they get babied a little bit. Yeah,
I was a
baby. But
I was a baby.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of responsibility that's always put on firstborn kids. We tend to have to grow up and mature a lot faster than our siblings do. It's not always a bad thing, but in any case, it really can be a rough ride when you're trying to live your life, but you've got this little thing that's attached to you. No matter what, you always have to, try to do something for them, even as far as putting aside your own needs. So I totally get Nancy, and especially Jonathan, because he has like the real firstborn kid syndrome, and we've seen that since season 1. So it's really good to see growth on both their parts.
Yeah, it's only been like 2 years, but your teenage years are pretty the most formidable. I think Peter Griffin said that he was the baby in the family, so he got away with everything.
Yep, they're bastards. That's what the hell y'all always do.
And then Aaron Barbosi broadcast says, "I'm a failure of an oldest." No, no one's a failure.
I doubt that. I highly doubt you're a failure. You cut that out.
And Dark Mother says, "I'm so over responsible oldest that the younger sister calls me Mamanita." That's funny.
Yeah, that happens. That happens. Sometimes you're the oldest kid, and there's maybe a 10 to 12-year gap in between your young siblings. So yeah, it totally puts you into that mother role as well.
Especially the oldest, and if it's a girl or the oldest daughter in that.
Especially also in a single parent home. Yeah, totally agree with you, because that's the real crux of the first kid syndrome right there.
John, you have to watch Stranger Things. If not for just the show, for the music that's involved, because you're the music man.
Yeah, for the music and for the nostalgia, man. Get on it.
Yeah, I was the only child, but I have 3 other cousins who are very close to my age. I have my older cousin who's 5 years older than me, then I think about 3 years older than me, and then one who's 8 months younger than me. So I basically grew up with effectively 4 siblings. So
yeah. And that's a cool thing always about having cousins that are in your age range. Cousins are always like your first besties when you're growing up, and having a family unit, even if you're in a single parent home or any other type of different family situations, always great to have that little core group. It's very essential in growing up. If you don't have that, sometimes it makes it a lot tougher to function in society, unfortunately.
Yeah, it makes you kind of just be like, what? Because even in my own family, that side of my family, I have a cousin who's 12 years younger, or 11 years younger than me, so she'll be 12 at the end of this year. So it's like we always feel like that disconnection from her, obviously because she was born so late when we were
in a whole other era, right?
Yeah, so it's just with that whole thing. But yeah, I mean, this whole thing that I'm talking about makes like a lot of sense, because even I think for Nancy, she almost feels that response, like her and Jonathan and Steve, even though most of them aren't there natural born siblings that they feel this responsibility for these kids
towards each other. Yes,
and
yes. Steve is a
towards
good
each other.
example for that. I totally agree with you on that. It's one of the only shines I'll give Steve. You're still a douche and a shit boyfriend, but you are one hell of a babysitter and a big brother for Dustin. So kudos.
Yeah.
I'll give credit where credit is due.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, they kind of and Nance just has that realization, and it kind of more comes into effect later.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we
AKA
can
the next
totally move
episode.
on. I think. Let's see. Okay, so we've got Nancy, Joyce, and Jonathan out the way. Where do you want to go next?
We kind of we kind of get the kids. So I guess we get Max and Elle, and they're kind of just still having a sleepover, and they're reading Wonder Woman.
Mm-hmm.
And Max is like, "This is why you hang out with the boys too much, because you don't know who Wonder Woman is."
Right, exactly. And I really, really loved Max and Eleven's developing friendship in this season. I think 11 definitely needed it because, as much as people think Hopper overreacted, no, I still say he did not. He needed to put the fear of Hopper into Mike because he was being a douche. But, Max was also there coming to the rescue and, showed her the other side of actually having a friend and a female friend at that. That's something she's never experienced. And it is a whole different experience than hanging out with your nerd boyfriend and his friends. So I'm really glad, they moved past all of the ridiculous nonsense from the previous two seasons. And I really just heart their relationship. Max does not hold back when she has something to say or a point to make. She makes it. If one of her friends she thinks is being, treated unfairly, she will jump in full mama bear. She is a flaming redhead and she handles the fucking business.
Yeah, she no like Johnny's house words. No means no. Like most of the time, that's Max. She's like, if you mess with my friends,
Mm-hmm. I will cut you. Like I fully believe if it really, really came down to it, and Max had like her skateboard on her, she would totally clock somebody in the face with it to protect one of her friends. I love her fierceness.
yeah, and basically it was a sleepover, and then Lucas tries to call her over a walkie-talkie to go over to Mike's house, and she's like, "No, go away!" So she's already exhibiting the teenager I want to sleep in all summer.
I mean, in all fairness, though, it's summertime. You wake me up from my late morning nap, we are going to have problems.
And then she just shuts off the radio, and then it's like the next best thing is just to call her. So they call, because the reveal of the last episode was that not Mike, Will still feels the mind flare inside.
Dark Mother, no, Max is not black. No, she is a Kiss by Fire, flaming redhead, Caucasian young lady from California, and she is totally awesome.
But Lucas, her other half, is. That's why. Yeah.
Yes, yeah. Lucas, her significant other is black.
And Erica is, if you looked at the thumbnail, Erica is Lucas's sister.
Yeah, Erica is Lucas's little sister. But okay, you know what? Yeah, r/whoosh, Dark Mother. That totally went over my head. Yes, I see where you're getting at now. My bad. Kudos to you for that thought. I appreciate it.
Oh. But yeah,
she does have those tendencies.
Yeah.
My bad, Kenzie. Go ahead.
No, it's okay. Yeah, they get the call, they get to round up, and they are now trying to figure out what's wrong with Billy from another perspective. And Will is basically like, I only was triggered to do things because that's when he wanted me. because they're still trying to analyze the ice cubes in the bathtub and then the bloody uh, fanny pack whistle combination that was in the trash can. Because Billy is at the community pool sitting with long sleeves and a hat
And a
and sun
blanket.
sweating. It's like, what? This is
Right, like that's one of the things I didn't really get throughout the whole season with Max. That's why, we got a glimpse of Billy's backstory later in later episodes, but I need the backstory with him and Max combined, because clearly things weren't always as they seem to be. Because once we get to the part, where they end up trapping him, and here's the title of our episode, the sauna. When they do that, Billy, he goes into this almost like scared little boy mode, and he starts talking to her. And I do think that was part the mind flayer, but I think that was also very much a big part of him. So I don't think there was all this animosity and hatred between them all the time before they moved here. I think they might have actually had a decent relationship at some point, but Billy's anger, for whatever reason, took him over, and they started being on the rocks.
also too. There was, because we do get about a 6 month um, break from the show. Like they obviously go through
Right.
all of
Right.
winter into spring into summer, so they could have had a developed relationship from like what happens in season 2 as well.
Yes, I actually didn't even think about that. Yeah, you are correct. Good catch.
Because I remember it was it episode, it might have been episode 8 of season 2 where Billy finds Steve with Max and the rest of the kids when they're separating them all up. So it could have been something like that where it's like, no, these are my friends, but you can't say anything, blah blah blah, and it's Bobby.
Bobby, and I hear tell that there's a Fandom D Saint in the chat room. Young man, I'm gonna need you to bring your ass and get your face on the screen, sir.
I don't know. Bobby doesn't know if he's like. I don't know if he's actually here or Bobby's.
Oh, okay. You're asking if he's here. Okay. Well, we have not seen him as of yet.
But
we're hoping he does show up, though. It's always fun hanging with Kenzie and BBM.
Yeah, he always brings. Yeah, because we always have to have someone to defend Dustin. That's
yes. In honor of BBM, leave Dustin alone. No, bitch, he's wrong.
Yeah, and if you go back, I think last week Johnny said something about Lucas being the better of the two. or it's just Johnny just put in the chat, Fandom D bird flu. So Fandom's like, I need to have something else happen. So then this nickname escapes me. But yeah, they are investigating Billy, and it's weird because he's sweating and he's wearing a pool. Like you would think, wearing all these layers at the pool, you would think that like all the moms that have lined up on the chaise summer chairs would be like, what's going on with him?
Right. Why did the Real Housewives not notice that their eye candy was completely covered up in what was probably 85, 90 degree weather with a damn blanket? Like he looked like what's his name? That was, I think it was the first Blade, Steven Dorff, when he tried to go out in sunlight to intimidate Blaine. He had on at least 300 pounds of sunblock all over his skin. Like that's what Billy looked like at that moment. And Max, for whatever reason, which is again why I need to know their backstory, she is basically saying and doing everything to take eyes off of Billy. Like, no, he wouldn't do that. Well, he's just sitting there like that because it's hot, and I think that the boys are with them at that point, and Will's like, he looks at it and he's noticing like, yeah, no, that doesn't really mean anything. He could just be a puppet right now with its strings just stood still, not moving. the Mind Flayer likes it cold. So Will's looking at the situation and assessing it accurately. No, there's a reason he's trying to block out the sun on his skin.
Yeah, because I think they had in the last episode that he got like a burn because his arm was like on the chair.
Yeah, by his elbow.
Yeah, and DA is in the chat as well. OTDA.
OTDA, the one true David Adams, my second in command, captain of the chat's guard. Welcome, my brother. Always good to see you.
Exactly. Peter Griffin. I'm going with Will for the Antichrist. Oh no.
You leave little Will alone, damn it. He's been through enough. If it wasn't for him and his Peter Tinkle, damn it, we would be in a lot of trouble in the party right now. So you stop that, sir. Stop it.
Or as AK likes to call him sometimes, budget brand.
I'm just saying. Discount brand. You know I'm right. That's why you're laughing.
Exactly. But yeah, like, I mean, I get it, wearing the multiple layers, but then at the same time, doesn't that make you more hot?
Exactly. See, I wonder that too. Like, yeah, okay, it's hot. You need to block out the sun hitting your skin. But aren't you overheating yourself with all them layers on? You got just one little tiny umbrella that obviously isn't protecting you because you need more things to cover your skin. It almost cancels itself out. But, but Billy is a tough kid. So I think he might just be using a bit of his, muscle power to actually push through all that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and they basically split up and decide that the best course of action to kind of redo what happened with Will in the end of season 2 is to just stick Billy in the sauna. So we can kind of talk about all of that. What did you think did you think it was going to work? Or because it's halfway through the season? Like...
because it's halfway through the season, I knew that eventually something was going to crack in the plan. But when you look at it, that really was some solid thinking on their part. It's down to Mike and his tactician skills in forming all the parties and how they did the raids playing Dungeons and Dragons. That's one of his skills, and I think he incorporates it here very well, coordinating it with Will and coming up with the sauna idea. So I really like that. The planning that they went ahead, they were actually pretty smart also in putting everything together and implementing it. Mike did try to shoot his shot, when Elle went to go get the little practice dummy, and 11 was just looking at him like, bruh, you doing this here right now? Really? And she goes off and she catches him, and of course he's like, dude, were you spying on me? Yeah, that's not allowed. That's against the rules. It wasn't against the rules when you had her doing your random fuck shit. So why is it an issue now? Now all of a sudden you're worried about her using her powers too much. You were doing the same thing, Michael. I need you to get it together.
Yeah, and then when she brings up the line about species, because that's been a thing since the first episode, so it's like all the species, or the second episode. It's just funny how she's just like, because we're not from the same species, so I have to go be with my species. And it's funny how that kind of comes off the heels of Max kind of reading her the Wonder Woman comic from the last episode.
Right, so, I didn't even think about that. Yeah, that's a good one. So, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I just found that like kind of funny how like Max is reading her Wonder Woman about an island of just all badass warrior women, and then she's just like, species, she'll be with my species. So it'd be funny if we got like a Halloween episode and Elle is just dressed as Wonder Woman or something like that.
You know what? It's also interesting actually thinking about that. I just thought about this. As far as Elle knows, there's only been women that she's encountered that have these traits. It's her mother, and Kali. So now we've got, the island of warrior women being put into her narrative. And I think that was pretty cool how they did that. Also, while we're with this group, we had Lucas trying to talk to Will and make amends for him and Mike being absolute dickbags. And Will's like, you know what? No, I'm over it. We don't need to talk about it. It's not a thing anymore. I'm fine. And he says we have more important things to worry about now. And at that point, I think is where it really hits home for Lucas that, damn, yeah, we really were completely fucking up. Our friend needed us. He just wanted to have our regular bonding moments, and we kicked him to the curb, because of some girls. And it's not like, they were doing anything wrong by wanting to spend time with their girlfriends, but they should have been better with their other friends and each other in their group. So I really like that moment with Lucas and Will also.
Yeah, because it shows kind of the growth of those characters, and kind of realizing that one is like kind of saying that they were wrong, because they
Mm-hmm.
were.
Yeah, they were definitely.
So, yeah, just also to kind of mend that storyline almost a little bit, and kind of make that kind of make sense, because there's not outstanding sort of internal drama.
Hmm.
Um,
It's almost also a foreshadowing for a scene that comes up in the
mhm.
end, in the final episode. But once we get to that episode, I'll try to remember to reference that back.
Yeah, because we're about halfway there, so we're gonna be
Yeah,
good.
we're about halfway through the party, and the second party I think we'll finish off with them. But to continue with these guys, once they implement the plan and they make it happen, Billy, they trap him, they bar the door, put some chains around it, and this again is where I start questioning the true relationship that was passed between Max and Billy. He doesn't respond very well to Mike or 11 or any of the other kids. But when Max goes up to the door and starts talking to him, that's his in, and that's when the mind flayer feels, okay, something's wrong with one of my avatars. I need to go investigate. Will's Peter Tingle. I'm going to continue to call it Peter Tingle for the rest of the episode. Spoilers, I guess, for Spider-Man, and shout out to Spider-Man for the Peter Tingle. But he lets Mike know that the mind flayer is there. Billy's been activated, and Mike, to his credit, he acts immediately. Normally Mike is good at acting immediately, but he's been distracted in the previous episodes. So here's where Mike really comes back to himself, and he doesn't even hesitate at all. He said, "Max, get away from the door." And Max is all slow because she's worried about her stepbrother, and she's like, "Why?" And he yells, "No, get the fuck away from the damn door." And she moves just in time for Billy to bust through the glass with that sharp ass piece of drywall, where had
Yeah,
she still been standing there, Max probably wouldn't have been making it to the next episode.
yeah, should have got caught up and all of that, like, but not good, not
Yeah,
good
it would not have been good.
for
And
Max.
unfortunately, Billy does escape. Elle gave him a good knock, but it wasn't enough once the mind flayer took over. And that
Yeah,
was a hell of a damn fight that they had to have. It's nuts though, because everyone froze for a minute once he grabbed Elle. But of course, you can't mess with Bay. Mike came through, hit him over the head. He tried to go in for the second hit. It didn't work out. He wasn't quick enough. And then he threatened Mike. And again, you can't mess with Bay, because even though they're fighting, 11 gets up like, "No, not today, bitch.
yeah,
Not today. We are
yeah,
not doing it. What's going to happen is I'm going to put you through
yeah,
this wall, and you're going to go the fuck away, and we're going to go plan out some new shit."
yeah. We're gonna make phase two of this. You just gotta go away and then come back later.
Mm-hmm.
um, but yeah, like that whole sequence that they did was just amazing, like from a
It was.
cinematic perspective, because they with Stranger Things, they normally just do stuff separate from the main cast. Like the only person who's ever really connected to these types of scenes are Will and 11. So to
Mhm.
have like 5 or 6 extra people be involved in a sequence like that, I commend. And especially with the what I presume would be maybe at times actual prosthetic, but then CGI for Billy's flayed look almost. Like that was really well done as well. The fact that they were able to kind of show how the mind flayer has taken over his entire body, rather than like kind of how Will it was only showed like near the end when it was trying to kind of escape. So yeah, it's it was one of those things where you're like, this is interesting. A dark mother, so 11 is black. Kevin. Yes, 11 is supreme in that department almost. Um, yeah, the with Billy, um, you feel bad for him, especially when he's like trying to plead to be let out, because half the time you're thinking that this is actually his own, like AK said, like his own voice coming through and like pleading to the kids to let him go. But then there's also that half truth of it's probably also the mind flayer trying to manipulate, because that's what the mind flayer does, like to manipulate people into thinking certain situations, like how at the beginning of this episode, um, Heather's mom and Tom were able to be taken to the steel mill, and how the mind flayer kind of be put be affected by the mind flayer. So it's very complex what they're dealing with, and the fact now that they have 2 people that are in main cast that are dealing with it, it's quite interesting, and it's a nice movement that they kind of did with the cast, because I know we've talked about it quite a few times uh, on here, but the fact that they have Billy as the main embodiment for the mind flayer in this season is well done, because it'd be hard to try and figure out what his role would be in this season if he didn't have this role to kind of play with, I think, because they might have struggled with that, what to do with him specifically, because his last season, aka season 2, was just his introduction into the show. So,
Oh, yeah, what part are we at now?
I was just wrapping up with the test, but yeah, they just get to the test, and then we have to just talk about Hopper and Joyce, and I think that's
Yes.
it.
Yes,
And then Scoop's
Hopper.
troop.
Yeah, yes, Hopper and Joyce, and we
Klein, Mayor Klein.
let's jet back to Nancy for a sec, real quick. I forgot, that point where she went to the hospital to see Mrs. Driscoll. First of all, that damn nursing receptionist, she needs to be fired, because obviously Nancy was lying, and Nancy usually is good at keeping up appearances, but she stumbled here, especially once she got the pass and started walking down the hall with the flowers. It was just hanging half-heartedly out of her hand. I think she should have still played the part that you were actually supposed to be there and you weren't sneaking in.
Mm-hmm.
And when the stuff started happening with Mrs. Driscoll, she kind of just stood there. I would have not pushed any buttons. I would have ran out of the room and went back and say, something's happening. I don't know why anyone is not responding, but you need to go check on the old lady. However,
And then
Nancy
run.
ends up, yeah, and then run. But Nancy ends up, for whatever reason, ignoring her spidey senses, and she stays in the damn room. And we know that's not going to be anything good. So that I think that was the last little blurb with Nancy. And going
Yeah.
back to Joyce and Hopper. Go ahead.
Yeah, the thing is, yeah, because a lot of the hospital scenes come in the next episode, because that's kind of where they all,
Yeah.
well, the teenagers and the preteens now, because they're not really kids anymore, converge. But yeah, Hopper kind of, we see him in the beginning wake up from basically having a concussion because of the Russian Terminator, like basically beat the crap out of him.
He caught all of the damn hands last episode. Holy shit.
Yeah.
All of the hands.
And he wakes up, and Joyce is there to help him, and he's naked? And he's like, why am I naked? And Joyce is like, because it was raining. So it's
Right,
like,
you were soaked. I couldn't let you stay in the clothes because you probably would have died from freezing to death or something or other. So yeah, we got Naked Hopper. Luckily, not too much of Naked Hopper. We got a whole hell of a lot less than Joyce did, and I'm very thankful for that. Thank you, Joyce, for taking one for the team. We salute you.
It's interesting though how she like took everything off, and then when he stood up, she was like, ah.
Well, I would imagine she probably averted her eyes, but then I mean, they've known each other forever, and I feel like there was maybe a little something that could have happened back in the day in high school, but it didn't. But they still share that, little bit of connection. And Joyce, when Joyce goes into mom mode, she's not even really paying attention to things on that level. So she was just, I need to get him home. It went very slowly because Hopper is a big ass dude and she is tiny. So she probably had to drag him over a lot of wet terrain and mud. So yeah, I'm not gonna put you on my couch in your muddy ass, wet ass clothes. No, you're gonna wake up naked with a blanket on top. Not sorry.
I think it was, yeah, I think they went back to his cabin or whatever.
Yeah.
It was in the cabin in the woods, huh?
Right.
No scary movie references there. And they try and get the attacker, and then they can't figure out the license plate number because Joyce can barely read it. I think she gets like 3 of maybe 6 or 7 numbers on the license plate.
Mm-hmm.
Johnny.
And Hopper's like, what is this? He said, it's a license plate. He's like, even if you had the full plate, do you know how long that would take? And honestly, a lot of people don't know how long that would take. Even today, it's faster than it was back then. But don't believe the hype that you see on Law and Order or any of the CSI shows. It takes a lot more than just a couple hours to get all of those things tested and to run through databases to find anybody's license plate. I work for the county in my city, and I've been to like the forensics office and to the coroner's office where they have to analyze all this stuff. It takes a while. You don't solve your crimes in just an hour and 40 minutes.
No.
So Hopper was totally right, looking at her like, we're not going to have time for this. We need to take action now, Joyce.
Yeah.
Thank you for trying, but no.
It's like, not today.
Not today. Not on that front anyway, but she does come through later. And that's when he says, okay, never mind what I said about sales. I'm sorry. Why don't you come work for me?
Yeah, exactly. And that, so they get situated. He gets dressed, and she's like, what are you wearing? Because he is wearing the shirt that he was wearing on their evening meal that they were supposed to share together at the not a date.
That's that Magnum PI look, man.
Yeah, the Tom Selleck look.
Right, he had to get the look on, man. That shit was tough back in the day.
Yeah. And I think you can actually buy that shirt at Hot Topic, I think.
That does not surprise me at all.
So I expect now the 2018 costume, maybe one of them will be Hopper's. A bunch of Hopper costumes. And they go over to Town Hall, where basically Hopper interrogates Mayor Klein about these properties that the people that bought Starcourt Mall have invested in, and Hopper goes kind of dark, trying to almost cut off Mayor Klein's finger with a cigar, like I guess it's a cigar wrap cutter.
It's not the cigar wrap. It's the tip cutter, so you can smoke. I know it might seem like, yeah, he did go a bit ham for no reason, but Wesley was fucking up. And again, for y'all that don't know, Wesley is the character that Cary Elwes is most famed for from The Princess Bride. He will always be Wesley to me, so that's what I'm going to call him. Wesley was fucking the hell up. And Hopper is trying to get answers. He tried to be civil. He even tried just the verbal threats like, bro, you gonna give me this information or else. And, Wesley tries to counter with some other random shit. Even if he would have went public with that, you know what? Hop would still be the sheriff because those people in the town know that Hopper is for the people. Wesley, they don't like his ass. So Hopper's like, oh, okay, we playing that game? All right. And he proceeds to go full Arya Stark on Meryn Trent. And he fucks Wesley what they call the hell up. And he deserved it. Damn it.
Exactly. And it's funny how he's like, oh, I can just tell everybody about the fact that you're having an affair with your secretary. And then the secretary goes, wait, what?
Mm-hmm.
He's like, I caught you, or whatever. And that whole funny thing about how when the door slams and it's like Hopper locks it, and then Joyce is just sitting there in the lobby, like, what are you gonna do? Call the police? Like,
right, like the police are here, bitch. That's their boss. Who's gonna come arrest their boss? Really? Go ahead, try me, bitch. Go ahead, pick up the phone. I dare you.
Yeah, it's like you're gonna send one of the just out of college deputies to show up and try and
exactly
disperse the situation.
Right, they're gonna be like, Chief, what's going on? Nothing. I got this. Okay, I'll go back to sitting at my desk and not doing the damn thing. How was that ever gonna work out in Wesley's favor? It wasn't. So, Wesley being the smart one that he is, though, he makes a wise choice. And he's like, okay, I'll tell you, just stop hitting me. I don't want to lose my fingers. And they march out of there. Well, what Wesley is marched out of there. And they go to this random 80s man lair, I guess. I don't know what the hell was wrong with that
house, I think.
In the 80s. Yeah, it was atrocious looking. But that's really neither here nor there.
Yeah.
He gets the confession about Starcourt being owned by this Russian group, and Hopper is trying to get all the deeds and the sales receipts and to see exactly what they're doing and why they need the properties that the mayor has sold, including Starcourt's. Along the way, Wesley tries to escape, and Hopper's like, no, we're not doing that today. You're going to sit here and explain this to me. And once they're done, he basically hog ties Wesley. And him and Joyce roll the fuck out. Like, yeah, okay, you've served your purpose. Now you sit here and be a good little tied up boy. I'm going to see you later. Thank you for your service.
Yeah, because once Joyce figures out that all the properties are related to or near close to lakes, almost, and it's one of those situations because lakes have been infamous in the past seasons. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, they leave. He's left, I guess, tied to a bedside lamp or something like that.
Yeah, and it's some random thing he can't get away from.
And then his wife comes home from jazzercise, and she gets him a phone. He's like, "Give me a phone!" But yeah, the housewife coming home at like 8:30 at night from jazzercise. Interesting.
I didn't know jazzercise was even a thing back then.
Yeah, because I
thought that was a 90s thing.
It was like in the last episode or the episode before when they're trying to look for the Russian.
Yeah.
There was that studio in the mall where the guy was like, whatever band they're doing some jazzercise.
Yeah, the guy they thought was the actual Russian spy.
Yeah, going by stereotypes of Russian informants. So funny. Yeah, and they go on their merry way. And I think this is when they eventually, because they'll eventually go and talk to someone we all know, and someone who has been influential in relationships before, cough cough, Maura Bowman, who's coming up next episode. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but they, I think
I think
that's
that's about it for Hop and Joyce.
Mhm.
They basically just set up to go on their next part of the phase.
Mhm.
So yeah, to wrap up, I believe we are now at
with
Star Court with
with
the ice cream squad.
Scoop's Troop. There was Scoop's Troop, which, if you haven't seen it, that's their name on kind of which they get eventually, but we all call them Scoop's Troop because, yeah, Steve and Robin, their only costume besides um, like one of their last scenes in the finale, is their ice cream shop outfit, which is kind of funny.
Now that's a uniform. They all that's actually accurate. You know, they always show them at work. When you're at work, you got to be in uniform. So I get it.
Yeah, that's true. They have, I guess, somewhat their final member initiate themselves into the group because they're still trying to figure out how to get to the spot where the Russians are, the lair, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
And Robin's like, I'll be back. So she goes, I guess, to Town Hall to get blueprints of Starcourt Mall. And they're trying to figure out who can fit in the air conditioning vents. They try Dustin. Oh my gosh, that scene's so funny. But then they get Erica. So, yeah, when Steve's just like, he has some random bone disease, like, or something, like he doesn't have certain bones. And then Dustin, the infamous, touch my butt!
They're like, damn it, touch my butt, I don't care. We need to get this done. We are on a mission. Hurry up. And you know, I get it, you know, and it's not working though. And Erica comes up in all of her sassy glory, ringing the bell like, hello, y'all need to come serve me my free samples. And Erica, honestly, is a whole mood this season. I do appreciate her sass. However, there are some points where I'm looking at her like little Liana Mormont, like, I'm gonna need you to sit down, young lady, go eat your bowl of cereal and watch some cartoons because you are doing the most right now, and I need you to not.
It's
So, go ahead.
the one part is like, where was her little friend? Because like before she would always have her friends around.
Yeah,
Did
she
she go to the mall by
conveniently-
herself?
She was conveniently there by herself that day, trying to get her free sample on. And you know, what is the girl's name? What is it? Karen Rose something or other. Chat room. What is the Scoops Ahoy chick's name? Let me know in the chat. Robin. Yes,
Yeah.
thank you. You know, Robin turns around and she sees her, and you know that you see the wheels turning and the light bulb go off. And right around here in their talk with Erica, this is where I started to, pierce the veil, or in the Land series, as you would say. Shout out to my dragon brother JD. Y'all check out his channel. We are talking about the book series Chaos Seeds. You'll find it there. This is basically where I activate my version of Richter's analyze skill. And Erica, starts spouting off some words and saying some things, and it makes me give her side eye.
Yeah.
And I side-eyed basically through the whole conversation. And, when Dustin's saying, our country's in danger and whatnot, don't you care about America? And you can't spell America without Erica. Great fucking line. I really appreciated the delivery on that.
I bet
Go ahead.
I bet you every preteen girl who was named Erica just spouted that for
that
at least
is going
a day.
to be their tagline. I'm surprised there aren't 1,001 memes with that little girl's face on it right now.
Exactly. Especially because it came out on 4th of July. So, like, if people were just
Right.
binging all these episodes, or at least got to this specific episode, and were like, you can't spell America without Erica. Like, oh
And
no.
she's absolutely right. And she starts talking about, you know, capitalism. That means in this country when you do a service, you get paid according to how big that service is. So she's
Gotcha.
already showing her tactician skills
Mhm.
and how to play the quote unquote enemy, or the other party you might be going against. So my side eye increased looking at Erica's actions, and they convince her to go ahead and join the Scoops troop. And when she comes in to do the job, she comes in absolutely ready. This chick looked more ready than Data did when he went down into the mines under Astoria to go hang out with Mikey and the rest of the Goonies on this treasure hunt. That again was like flag number 2. I'm side-eyeing. First of all, why do you have all this equipment that you have on, young lady? What do you do in your spare time that you just got this helmet and knee pads and all this extracurricular shit laying
2
around?
flashlights.
Right. You basically came to go to
She-
war.
She must have been maybe in some escalated version of Girl Scouts. Like, always be prepared. Like, but.
So, something
Yes.
has touched her to where she knows, okay, I'm getting ready to go into some strange and real shit. I need to be prepared.
Yeah.
So she comes in, and they come up with this plan, hashtag mission child endangerment. She's not wrong.
No.
I can't be mad at her for giving it that name, because she is not wrong at all. And of course they're all children as well, but we're ignoring that. She's the youngest child, so yeah, this is Operation Child Endangerment. I'm gonna go through and do some shit in an armed fortress, and I have to let you in the door so our forces can rally and finish the quest.
Exactly.
And I love it. I really did dig the setup. So go ahead. What are
Yeah.
your thoughts?
Yeah, it's really funny how they picked the right actress to kind of portray this,
They
because it
did.
seems like if there was another actress before who had played off like what Erica kind of does, it may not be as believable, but because it's that specific actress, you can totally buy into that as how
Mm-hmm.
she would act if she was like this in some sort of way.
Mm-hmm. I
And
agree.
it's also funny that as soon as Erica and like Robin lock eyes, that they just all of a sudden give her as many different types of ice cream or ice cream thing mixed in with things as they can, from floats to sundaes to banana splits. There's even, I think, a GIF that I used for or GIF, however you want to pronounce that stupid word, on for when I tweeted out this episode of Steve sliding across a banana split to Erica. It's like one of those meme-ish moments that it's like, I'll give you everything you want, and then her one
Mm,
stipulation is, okay, I will do this, but you need to give me lifetime supply of ice cream every time I show it.
yo,
I no charge. And
I'm saying, okay, if Karen is a Tully, then I'm gonna say that Erica is a Martell. She is playing the long con. You want me to do this task for you right now? I need guarantees for the rest of my existing life as it could be. You will give me this
yeah.
stipend of ice cream whenever I ask, forever. And those are my terms. If you do not like it, get the fuck out of Sunspear. I don't want to see your face again.
Exactly. And it's just like, it's just so funny how like her easiest bribery is just ice cream. She's like, that's just all I want. No, nothing about what happened. All of that fun stuff. It just, yeah. It's just so funny. And when she's like put on her backpack, and she's just like climbing up, Erica is just like, please don't call it child endangerment. But it's like almost, I don't know, I can't remember if she exactly came back with the comeback, but she's like, but this is what it is, pretty much.
Pretty much, right. Right.
And they're going through and the three of them are just sitting outside waiting for her to show up. And then the part where it's like, do you see any booby traps? And she's like, if I saw any booby traps, then they'd be very bad ones.
Exactly.
I was like, do you see any lasers or do you see anybody? She's like, no, no. And then obviously she lets them through the door, and we all know that they spend this. It'll be interesting. This whole elevator situation, that also locked door.
You know, here's the ridiculousness again with the Scoops troop. They don't always think ahead, you know, with the exception of Erica again, because she is Doran Martell reborn. She's thinking of the long con and what it will gain her. But once they get the door open and they get inside, they didn't have to stay there for as long as they did. The door was open. They could have just snatched a box, ran back to their little hiding place, and they would have been fine. But no, we're dumb kids, so we want to sit and investigate our prize and how and high five each other about how awesome our plan was executed. And they find the secret of the ooze sitting in one of these crates. And just when they're about to say, okay, you know, let's go do blah blah blah, doors close. And Dustin and Steve start arguing over, you know, push the button, open the door, and Erica's in the background, hit the door open button. And, you know, once again, arguing over pushing damn buttons, just like they did at Hawkins. And all of a sudden, a security door closes behind the door that was already closed. And the elevator starts going down. And they're all looking at each other like, oh shit, booby traps. Yeah. You idiots. What the hell were you sitting there monologuing and talking for? It's like Denise when she was having that loud ass monologue on The Walking Dead in wide open area on the railroad tracks. You don't want people to hear you right now. You don't want to move around too much.
No.
But rookie mistakes. That's what these idiots did. And now they're trapped in God knows where, because that's where the episode ends.
Exactly. And Johnny says, Erica Martell for the Iron Throne.
You damn right.
Exactly. Yeah, it seems, yeah, this whole, especially where they leave this episode and how you kind of have now, because Nancy is obviously, and Jonathan will obviously take care of the vast majority of the children in the coming episodes. It's nice to kind of see how Steve and Robin kind of work as that sort of relationship towards Dustin and Erica, because they essentially take care of them for the rest of the rest of the episodes coming up. So it's funny how they really paired the teenagers, because most teenagers nowadays wouldn't do this. They wouldn't care for their little brother or little sister's friends at all. So it's nice to see, like, oh, there's maybe hope that maybe sibling relationships are kind of like this, or pseudo-sibling relationships are kind of like this. But yeah, Erica, if you haven't watched all of Stranger Things yet and you're still somehow catching up with us watching episode by episode, I don't know why, because you have to watch episode 5 with Erica. She is just phenomenal, especially when she back talks to Steve. Man, that's funny. But the one part that was kind of funny that we kind of glanced over was when when Robin's running out of the ice cream shop with the tip money. Dustin somehow has had Steve's ice cream scoop, and he's like, "Man, don't touch my scoop!" And he like flips it around and then sticks it back into his like belt pocket.
Wow.
Or whatever. It's just like so funny. Like because normally any essence of ice cream would have been like washed off or whatever, because cross flavors or cross contamination or whatever. But yeah, it's that one comedic moment of like, oh, there's something tense going on because Robin's running away, and then just like licking the ice cream. Um, but yeah, we got this episode. I think it's one of the better ones of this season, especially in terms of effects wise, because we do a
Hmm.
lot of quite well, especially the elevator. The elevator and where it goes is quite interesting.
Yeah, that was very interesting. That was basically the little nugget to make you hit play next episode before the credits were over, and it worked.
Yeah, because when it's like gives you like a 5 to 10 second countdown, it's like yes, I want to watch the next one. And like this show in general, I'm obviously, as you all know, I'm a late watcher of this show, and I
Hmm.
feel like this shows I've been sleeping on this show, uh, essentially. But I'm
There,
happy
I
to.
mean, you'd be surprised. There's a lot of people that are. I mean, it's very popular. A lot of folks are watching it, but just as many are not watching it either. Same with Game of Thrones.
Yeah, it's like one of those. Yeah, there's it's interesting with TV now. Like you can be like almost a sleeper on certain shows, but understand what's been kind of going on. That's kind of like what I went into with season one. Like I kind of knew things in season two based off of what had been said on Twitter and such. But just to kind of go into this specific season with nothing really going on is quite um, fun and interesting. Like if you have, like, because I know Aaron Bravosi broadcast hasn't watched the show yet. We kind of convinced her, even though she knows that this one character is dead, that Bob is in the show because of who the actor is who plays Bob. So,
Yeah, don't move to Hawkins if your name starts with a B. It's not going to end well.
no, no, it does not. Um, but since we kind of wrapped up the episode, is there anything you want to mention um, before you do like your ranking and what's kind of going on with you and with your channel?
There honestly is not a whole lot going on with my channel. I did the other day get the download of the panel I did with Lisa Manu and Teflon. Shout out again to Teflon for putting me on the panel about racism and colorism in Westeros and how people of color are handled. It was very good conversation we had, and I really love some of the insights that everyone put into it. Um, I think that Tony may post it on his channel. I'm not sure. I'll talk to him. If he doesn't, then I'll post it on mine. I do want to get some folks together to get some more episodes of They Deserved It in. If I can get everything organized enough and I can get Streamlabs or StreamYard learned a little bit, then I'll be doing an unboxing of the awesome weapons that I got at the con. And I'm going to try to put all of the pictures and video clips that I took into one little thing to post as well. Besides that, you can catch me here on Episode Club. I'm not sure if I'll be in next week, but I'll definitely be back at some point before the season's over. And hopefully, I'll be collaborating with some other folks that we have in this lovely community. And that's about it.
What do you rate this episode?
This episode, I've actually rated every episode pretty high, I think. So I'm going to stand for this one with an 8.75 side eyes to Erica, because you, young lady, have some things going on that you are trying to hide, but AK sees you. I have pierced the veil. We'll talk about that hopefully next episode, though, because that's when it really comes out.
Yeah, she really does come onto the screen very much so next episode. Um,
Yeah, indeed. And, in the words of Alexander Rogers, shout out to him if you like random ratchet television and commentary on Pose and RuPaul's Drag Race. Go check out his channel. I've been in K, and I'm going to see you soon for something.
for for me, I think that this episode gets, I'd say a 9. Elevator drops and stomach drops. Elevator and stomach drops, because it's like they're all probably just went, oh! Like it almost went, like they all probably, like their stomach almost just stopped at the same time. But for me, coming up, I should be doing another makeup in which I know the last one was supposed to be up on Monday, but there was some technical stuff that I had to fix, so I'll post that one next Monday. And then the patrons chose the next one, which should be recorded sometime this week, but it'll go up the week after. And it's egret, so yeah, we're gonna do an egret inspired look. I'm seemingly doing all redheads for this so far, so but yeah, we're gonna do a little bit more. With that, next week we're going to be covering what I believe episode 5, which is The Flayed. And while I'm at it, shout out to the patrons: Dark Mother, who is in the chat, Bobby Catalano, and Catherine Harding, Nancy T, the Mother of Blankets, and Katrin C from My Point of View. Go check out her channel as well. She does awesome Game of Thrones content, more specifically right now on Sansa, and as well as Walking Dead, I believe she covers as well. So yeah, shout out to the people in the chat: Mary Jade Skywalker, Bravosi Broadcast, Dark Mother, Alicia Kingston. I don't know who she is.
I don't know who that broad is. I keep telling y'all, when you see her, get her the fuck out of here. I don't know what her deal is.
And then you got Bravosi Broadcast, another person you're just kind of like, who is this person? Peter Griffin, Johnny Be Crazy, another one you're just like, he comes in and out. I don't know. And Bobby Catalano, who is also here, AU Pac-Mule, who joined us tonight.
Yeah, Otilla Angel also has stopped in earlier, and the one true David Adams.
Yeah. And I think that, and then the shout out to Fandom Desane. I know he couldn't be here today, but
we did miss you, Fandom.
Yeah, the watcher on the Funko wall missed his. It's not represented on the live stream, but you know he's doing that, or he's just petting his Cersei Funko, because you can't let that down, especially the one that's out of the one that he only lets out of the box, because there's a few. I think he has a few. So, with that, we will see you all next week for The Flayed, and just look out for anything that comes up. I hope we can do some more ladies' night streams, because I know that's what some of you have wanted. We'll figure that out in the background, as well as Outlander. I'm going to try and figure out how to do that with maybe Clarissa at one point. But yeah, we'll see you all very, very soon. Bye, everyone.
Hasta.
And it's going.